Hello. Oh, this is exciting. Welcome to episode 1 of Sacred Sisterhood Speaks, the video cast. Oh, I am buzzing with excitement. It has been so long since I've done a real, like, proper live rather than just an impromptu on my phone one. So I'm beyond excited to be here this evening. I am going to be joined by my guest for this episode, Anna Bird, who I will bring on in just a moment. I'll give her official introduction shortly. But welcome, everyone. I'm so excited. If you are here, you can pop in the comments. I can bring your comments up on screen. It's going to be completely interactive. Anna and I are currently live. Some of them will be streamed with recordings of interviews. However, I will be running those live. But this one is completely live, which is very, very exciting. So please join in the conversation, pop your comments in. I can see them all down the side. And enjoy yourself. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. But without further ado, I am going to take on our very first podcast guest, which is the very, very lovely Anna Bird. Welcome, Anna. Oh my god, I'm giddy. I'm so
Hi, I know. I'm so excited to be doing this. And can I just say, it's so lovely to just see your face and hear your voice, Laura. I've really missed just like listening to you and seeing you and like properly in person. I know we're not in person, but
I'm,
yeah, you know what I mean.
it's yeah, it's. I mean, because we've spent like proper in-person time together, like,
Mm.
and it's not just like a coffee here and there. It's like a full-on weekend together.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's like, even though we've only really met in person twice, it feels like we've known each other for ages. So
Yeah,
it is
yeah.
really, really lovely.
Absolutely, yeah, that's completely how I feel. It's like we all sort of, especially like within the group, the Sacred Sisterhood group, we all kind of just, I feel like I know everybody so well now, having only met some people even only once, but that's, that's an amazing connection, isn't it? So
Exactly. And that's the beauty of it. But yeah, so well, let's talk more about you. So you are a mum, parent carer, a campaigner, and a broadcaster. So we're going to cover that full broad spectrum of things, and we're just kind of go with the flow. But yeah, obviously, when I think, because it wasn't you that had put yourself forward for this, really, was it? You were almost nominated by one of our
Yes. Yeah, by Louise, my lovely friend Louise, who I just love so much. But she is one of my fellow mums on a mission. So if you're thinking, wow, mums on a mission, what in the world is that? That sounds a bit crackers, doesn't it? Oh, hi, Louise. So it's we're basically a campaign group. We are 5 mums. We have children who have quite complex needs, actually. We also have non-disabled children as well. We came together in 2019 to campaign for Changing Places toilets, which are essentially fully accessible toilets with ceiling mounted hoist, adult size changing bench, and just more space really for carers and the person they're caring for to be able to use the toilet. So these are fully accessible toilets. When we started the group, there were very few in Swindon. We had a couple in like retail kind of areas, one in the Brunel Centre, one at North Swindon Orbital, but we felt like the country parks really needed them. We were actually sort of driving up and down the M4, up and down the A419 to different towns to go and use like play parks that have Changing Places toilets as part of the park. And yeah, we felt that this obviously, we wanted this in Swindon. It's a big town, big population of like 280,000 or something. So yeah, we began this campaign group, and it started out as a Facebook page, and we had a really good, it was a bit slow to begin with. I said we started in 2019, and that was October 2019. And within a few months, we'd kind of gone into COVID, of course, which did scupper it a little bit. So we had to put it down for a bit. And then we sort of came back in early 2021, picked the campaign back up, became really popular with, the same community in Swindon. We've had so much support with it, really. So yeah, it also evolved from just the changing places toilets, excuse me, into inclusive play and accessible play.
Yeah.
So a lot of play parks do not take disabled children into account when they're being planned and designed. Even now, I would say there's a lot more which are inaccessible to our children than are. There's probably like 5% which are accessible, if that, in Swindon. So we put together our own kind of guides on what a very accessible play park looks like to us and to our children. Obviously, we don't speak for the entire, SEND community. And we've learned so much as well along the way with all this. Other SEND parents have come along and gone, oh, well, you like this, that, and the other, but we also needed to have this. So it's been a massive learning journey for us, actually. So we branched out into inclusive play and accessible play. We put together our guides. We helped to design the big play park at Coatwater. That was a big sort of £500,000 project for Swindon, and that was just immensely, it was quite a long and stressful one, actually. We were involved in it for about 2 years before it eventually opened.
Wow.
Lots of different project managers coming in and out, different councillors being elected and then losing their seats and then resigning, and all sorts, all the people we were kind of involved in with in the beginning were sort of in and out and in and out. But eventually we got there, and it opened in March 23. And that was there was a big opening, official opening, lots of media there. We were there in our lovely pink t-shirts that we wear. It was just a really amazing day, lovely celebration. And we kind of used all of that all of the knowledge that we had brought together, all of our experience. So we also help parish councils who run a lot of the smaller play parks in Swindon. A lot of them come to us now if they're planning like a refurbishment of the play park, or they want to build a new one. Housing developers are finally getting on board as well, which is really exciting. Obviously you get these big developments popping up, thousands of houses. They might be like 6 or 7 play parks within a massive development, and even the most recent ones being built are not accessible. But finally they are saying, actually we want to get involved with this group, and we can have a little bit of input into what they are designing, which is absolutely amazing. So
because I've followed along the journey for quite a few years now, because obviously I know Lou from it as well, and so I followed along with her, and then obviously now with you. But just, I think until you know about it, you don't know how much, like how important it is to have those facilities. And obviously as parent carers ourselves, like obviously with Levi now, he's older, whereas he was still in nappies till he was 6. And like they're at this size where you can't use the baby change. And then the other option is the floor, which in a lot of these places is just, it's not sanitary at all, and it's undignified as well.
Completely. I mean, Emily was probably like 4 or 5, and so she was born very small, but she grew quite quickly, and by sort of 4 or 5 she was quite tall for her age. I don't even really remember the exact moment that it kind of happened, but I was starting to really struggle with taking her out because she was getting too long for baby changing units. And I'd read about these changing places toilets. I kept seeing there were other campaign groups actually, and I kept seeing those popping up on Facebook. So I was starting to join some different SEND groups and that kind of thing, and then they were all sharing information about these different campaign groups in different parts of the country. And I thought, well, we don't have one here. And I did toy with it for a little while. I just thought, you can't start a campaign group on top of everything else. Literally, what are you on? And then we went to Longleat Safari Park, actually. Like I say, Emily was about 5, and they didn't have a change in places then. And I remember asking a member of staff if there was somewhere I could go to change her. And they were like, well, the baby change is literally just here. I said, yeah, I know. I said, she's too big for that. Have you got anything else, an adult changing area, or even a first aid room or something like that? And I'm like, oh, really sorry, we haven't got anything like that. So we had to make do with the baby. Or they said, disabled toilet is the other option. And I thought, well, that means lying on the floor, essentially. And, I had done that at different places up to that point, but you do get to a point where you think, I just don't think I can do this anymore. I don't think I can lie my child on the floor or lie her on a baby changing unit. So me and Mum took Emily into the baby change at Longleat, and we both lifted her up onto it, and like her head was just hanging off one end and her legs were hanging off the other. And she was just long, and it was not right. It wasn't dignified at all. It was horrible. And I think that was the moment where I started to think, we really do need some more of these facilities, actually, these fully accessible toilets. And then, the more I looked into it, I thought, well, it's not even just our children who would benefit. It's people of all ages, so many different disabilities. Adults, older people with dementia, they need to use them. It's actually quite a wide spread of people. So we decided to start the campaign group. I kind of said to the others, I think I do want to do this, actually. And one day I just set up the Facebook page, and it was all quite tiny and a bit unprofessional to begin with. It was quite professional anyway.
You've got to start somewhere.
And exactly, that's it. Sometimes you can have I have this really badly, actually, you have like a mental block of, you kind of know what you want to do and what you want it to look like, but it's a bit too huge to just create it in one go. Yeah. Sometimes you just have to start, don't you? You just have to say, today, I don't know where it's going to go or how big it's going to get or how I'm even going to get there, but I need to make a start. Yeah. And that's what I did. We set this page up, got an email address quite early. One of the girls in the group who was good at sort of graphics, she created our funky logo made of toilet seats, changing places logo. We decided our colour would be pink because we all liked it. It's, we're mums on a mission. It's a very feminine female colour. And to be honest, I mean, the others sort of say that I'm kind of the unofficial leader, but there's absolutely no way I would have done it on my own. I need all of them. Every single person in our group is, just such a tremendous kind of support to me. Everybody has input. I hate making decisions on my own, so I love being able to, mull it over with the others.
Quite a lot of you.
So, there's 5 of us in the group, and our children have got some similarities and some differences. So I feel like we cover quite a few bases between us. We've all got different life experiences as well. We all like doing different things. Some of the group, they like going shopping and going for lunch a lot. Some of the group, it's going to the play parks. And isn't that really what life is all about, actually? Is being able to think, what do we want to do with, today? What do we want to do with our lives? What brings us joy? What do we love? What brings our children joy?
Yeah, that's it. It's not all just changing places and play parks. It's like you are like a really strong knit group, and that's friendships between yourselves and your children. And because when you do have a send child, it is difficult to get out and about with other people. And I mean, I know with Levi, we really struggle for him with friendships and actually being with other children. So to have that knit group, it is lovely. And like you say, it's like you are individuals in your own right, and it's nice to have, even though obviously your mum, your parent carer, you're all the hats that you wear. Like at the end of the day, still come together as sort of individual women, just sort of that driving force for a good cause. Which is
definitely. And I mean, I think, again, going back to when Emily was quite small, I mean, she's 11 now, and nearly 11, sorry, 11 in just over a week. She's nearly adult size, but going back to when she was quite small, it's, you go through quite a few years where everything is actually quite uncertain. I think people think that you'll get a diagnosis and then you'll be given a prognosis, and you'll be told exactly what's going to happen when, and it literally, it couldn't be more different to that. It's a very uncertain time. It's very much a roller coaster, and I think you have so little, in a way, control over what's happening. And part of me thought, is there anything about my entire situation that I could control? And that's when I thought, well, if we start campaigning for these toilets, at least that is one, it's something within our control, and it's a positive contribution that we could make for ourselves and also for the community. Does that make sense? It's like everything else is so, out of your hands, it's uncertain, but to be able, as a group, to say, well, having these facilities, we know would make life when we're out and about a lot easier. So I think that's kind of a lot where it's born from. When you have a SEND child, it's a roller coaster, actually. The early years, especially, I found really like a lot more stressful probably than the last few years. So eventually you do settle into like a rhythm with it, don't you? And you go through all these different stages of like whatever. Actually, I've always been extremely accepting of everything that Emily is. But I think that, there's so many unknowns, and you see so many different professionals. You're juggling. I couldn't even tell you how many professionals she's seen in her 10, nearly 11 years. It must be like 50, I would say, at least.
I think it's all the professionals. Then you've got all the abbreviations to remember, and I think SEND parents, we've got all those abbreviations like logged in our mind. It's almost like a different language, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And like, it's so many different appointments at different locations. We've all got massive, chunky, extensive diaries to put all this information in. And you know what? Once in a blue moon, we have messed up and forgotten to go to an appointment, and you feel so terrible. And it's always like, such a big deal, isn't it? In the media, they talk about missed appointments costing the NHS, and they even write it on the letters now. When we get an appointment letter, it says, "Please attend this appointment. A missed appointment will cost." And you know what? I just think I'm genuinely hand on heart doing my best here. But there has been the odd blue moon appointment missed out of, I don't know, hundreds. It must be hundreds that we've been to over the years. So
coming back to that, it's like we are like juggling everything, and it's sort of all this stuff we've got, being a parent carer as well as like having a child that doesn't have SEND needs, or it's all that in one, and then work and keeping ourselves sane and not. I like to think most of the time. Maybe. But then I think back to that, so like as a SEND parent, now that they are a bit older, I do find it easier. But like going back to when Levi was like probably up until he was probably about 5, because he was non-verbal for quite a long time, and I think with that delay in communication, it does create that much more frustration for them, and there was so much more meltdowns. It was literally like daily. He would have really bad meltdowns, like literally drop to the floor. He'd just headbutt, he'd run into the wall. Whereas now he's 12, coming up 13. I can't remember the last time that he actually had a meltdown. He's getting much better. It's self-soothing. He's a bit more aware, but I think it's just like as they grow older, it just comes with like new and different challenges, and especially as they're getting to the age where their minds are much younger, but their bodies are changing. That's a challenge that I'm finding.
I hear what you're saying, actually. I mean, so when Emily was quite small, she was actually very happy-go-lucky, a very calm sort of nature. What we're kind of finding now, so like I say, she's approaching 11. She's already gone into puberty, unfortunately, so she started her periods, and yeah, we're finding there's definitely a lot more quite up and down behaviour at the moment. She can have just days where she's a little bit out of sorts, quite unsettled. I know it's hormones, basically. You know, is she coming up to time of the month? Is it PMT? I think it's been a little bit of a shock, if I'm honest, how quick that has come around. Because it feels like, you know, only a couple of years ago she was quite small, and this wasn't even on my radar, to be honest. I thought this would be years and years away, and she would sort of stay the same for ages, and then, you know, I don't know, 14, 15, we would get there. And yeah, she's, you know, this has probably been the last year or so. It's been very tricky to navigate at times. She started doing a couple of things which we find a bit more challenging, like she bites her hand. She started scratching her hand or picking at it. You know, she doesn't really do anything to us. Only if she's really distressed, she might try and pinch or bite somebody. But you know, and we've reached out to different places, and we're just, nobody is there to help you.
No.
You know, we've spoken to GP, we've spoken to pediatrics, and you know, we have been referred to a couple of different departments, and it's just, I don't know, it just doesn't seem to be happening.
Yeah, we're in the same boat. We had a referral to the learning disability nurse, who was great, but we just kind of got given a really good booklet on puberty and SEND and how to support them. And then she did go into the school and did a couple of bits of support in the school, how to support Levi. But apart from that, it was like you said before, you get the diagnosis, and then apart from the follow-up appointments, like there's not much support otherwise. I think we have to go and find that support ourselves, or we have to research, or just live by experience and learn from it. And it is a whirlwind. And I mean, going from that into obviously talking about being SEND parents and all of that, I think coming back to the fact that we're individuals in our own right, like we can't just let that engulf who we are. So I guess that kind of leans into like finding our own individuality, like reclaiming it, because at one time or another we were Anna, we were Laura, we were whoever else. And I think it's difficult, isn't it, to think, oh, I haven't got the time, or I can't be me, or sometimes you just don't know who you are and what you want to do.
Yeah.
I felt, especially when they were much younger, and I was pretty much like at home all the time. I wasn't working, or I was just kind of doing little bits here and there. It's difficult, isn't it? And you kind of, again, with that, the whole being a SEND parent, it's isolating as well. Like, I mean, being a new parent is anyway, but
Yeah, completely. I mean, yeah, so it can be when you're a new parent. It depends if you've got like what kind of support network you have from your family, friends, etc. But yeah, when your journey suddenly goes off on a different sort of direction, you know, I mean, I'm not really friends with that many people, but I was when Emily was born, and the NCT group kind of fizzled out quite quickly. You know, I'm still in contact with school friends and things, but we don't get to see each other very often. And I think for me, finding my kind of Sen mum like tribe has just been absolutely, you know, everything. And going back to what you were saying about, you know, the sort of the help and support that's out there. I mean, you know, to be fair, we have had some really great professionals sort of dipping in and out, and they usually end up leaving or whatever. But I think I have probably had more help and support from other parents than you know, almost anyone else, in terms of like finding out what services are out there, finding out what help you can apply for. finding out what groups you can take your child to. That's all, that knowledge has come from other parents, other SEN parents, because they knew someone who told them. And it's just like, why is always information being kept secret all the time?
Exactly. It feels flawed that like the signposting has been left to like us that are out there in the field, like doing it, and then
precisely. Yes, yeah.
I know things are stretched at the minute anyway, but yeah, having to navigate it. But it's good to have those around you because, I mean, like I say, if you're not at the point where you've kind of found yourself and you know who you are and what you're doing with yourself, it can almost feel like you're kind of drowning in it all.
Oh, completely. I mean, yeah, actually, what you were saying a minute ago, yeah, for years and years, just, I mean, being a mum is massive anyway. Being a SEN mum is like a big sort of thing on top of that as well. I was just completely engulfed by it. At times overwhelmed, obviously, it's very overwhelming. But it was just like that there was no other existence for me apart from Anna, the mum, the parent carer, who was, occasionally managing to drag herself into work, and has now started this bonkers campaign
Glutton for punishment.
for toilets, so glamorous.
No, it's a fantastic cause though. But we are gluttons for punishment though, aren't we? And I think actually keeping busy sometimes is the medicine. But like where you said, like your mum, your parent carer, obviously you're a campaigner, you're also like a broadcaster as well. Like that's a big deal. Like
well, yeah, it's I mean, it's been such a privilege to do this job. I mean, I've been in radio over 20 years. So I work at BBC Radio Wiltshire at the moment, and it's a really great and fun job that I absolutely love. And people have said to me before, oh, would you consider sort of going into the SEND industry, maybe working in a SEND school or even doing comms for a SEND charity or something like that? And I kind of feel like actually I like the small part of me that isn't sort of SEND related. And that for me is my work. So, and I'm very, very fortunate that I do 2 days a week in my paid job at the BBC. And, that does allow me to at least have a little bit of work-life balance. The days I'm not working are pretty busy with mainly family admin, SEND admin, and just the general stuff that we all have to do, the laundry, the shopping, all of that boring stuff. And I do find all that side of it actually quite dull sometimes. So to be able to get up on it's Thursday and Friday I work, to be able to go into work, it's at the crack of dawn, unfortunately. So I'm always a bit sleep deprived come the weekend. But yeah, it's just a lot of fun working on the breakfast show. And we cover a really sort of wide range of different issues and different stories. We get to meet really interesting people. So many people are out there with their own campaigns, and their own things that they're fighting for. And it's just a real honor to be involved in that every week in, week out. Our listeners as well are absolutely just brilliant. They're all bonkers, but they're so lovely. We've got such a sort of great relationship with them, and so sort of very rooted in the community. Actually, the radio station it's a local radio station. It's been there a long time, and I think that's the side of it that all very much kind of still aligns with me and who I am. I think in a lot of jobs, and even in mine, there are days when you think, oh, this hasn't aligned with me that much today. I haven't really enjoyed some of these stories we've had to cover. But by and large, it's brilliant to be able to go and do that. Do I particularly balance it all very well? Not always. Sometimes I get to Friday night and I go, crap. That week, I've got this awful thing I do, and I know you understand this, where I just say, oh, I've just got to get through the next week. Yeah. Just got to get through this week. I've just got to get through the next week, you know, and I kind of, my thing for this year is to stop being quite so tied up in absolutely everything and give myself a little bit of time to breathe. So that's going to be what I'm doing this year. Yeah.
I found that. I think like we can get so caught up in being busy. Sometimes that becomes our comfort zone and our normal. So like I know I definitely find if I'm not busy, I feel really uneasy. So I find things to make me busy. Which is like really backwards and stupid. But I think actually, like, especially since the beginning of this year, I've repositioned it. And rather than fill in the gap with something random that makes me busy, I'm being much more conscious into like giving myself time, space to do something that, like, whether it's doing a bit of reading or going for a bubble bath, it's like finding the little joys to fill that space. Because otherwise, it's just procrastination of by keeping busy.
Yeah. Do you know what you just said there? Actually, you've hit the nail on the head. It's being conscious of like what you're sort of doing minute by minute, day by day. Yeah, we're so sort of conditioned, aren't we, in society, that to be a successful woman, you have to be, yeah, excelling in your career and the best brilliant mum who's on the PTA and does, you know, home cooked food all the time. I'm so the opposite of all of that. And I mean, I've worked really hard actually on trying to like ignore a lot of that noise. Just, you know, you just got to stay in your own lane, focus on yourself, and just don't worry about, you know, what everybody else is doing all the time. Don't worry about keeping up with people, obviously, you know. But yeah, you really hit the nail on the head about being conscious about allowing yourself, you know, a little bit of time. I mean, yeah, if I could just, you know, if I had a completely free day and I could do anything, I love being out in nature, love to walk through a forest, you know, I love being around trees, I love to go for a bimble around Avebury, love that kind of thing, you know, and I just don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know why I can't seem to ever fit this in, you know. It's just you've got half of the week where you're at work, and I've got half the week where I'm not, but I'm just catching up on a zillion things that, you know, are just important. So I think, yeah, boundaries is a big issue for me, or has been over you know, the years. Find it difficult to say no. I've been a bit of a people pleaser at times, and that also adds a lot of pressure, I think, to people who are like that. But yeah, I do find as I'm getting older, I'm getting a little bit more kind of, I think people always expect you to get a bit braver and to, yeah, not just be sort of at everybody's beck and call all the time. And, you know, you just have to be, yeah, a little bit brave and just say, no, I'm not actually happy to do that, or I'm not coming out tonight because I'm just really tired, actually.
Exactly. People put a lot of pressure on like saying yes to things, and you should go for it and say yes. But actually, I find there's more power in a no. Like,
Yes, yes.
it's so
Yeah.
easy to say, "Oh yeah, okay, I'll do that then," but then you're like, "Oh," but then when you say
Yeah.
no, like, because it's, I think you have to almost cross that threshold. Oh, well, I can't get the words out. That's a mouthful. Cross that threshold. There we go. Into feeling comfortable with saying no, because when you're like a prolific people pleaser, it's just the easier thing to go, yeah, all right then, because you don't get that backlash or that reaction. Or like for me, like, I hate anything like that feels like conflict, and I'm like, oh
Yeah.
god, and or confrontational. So to just
Yes.
go,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, okay, yeah, I'll do that. And then you resent it and you think, well, why have I done this to myself? And
Yeah. Oh, I've been there so many, like thousands of times over the years, you know, where, yeah, you get to a point that you're actually really annoyed with yourself because you've stressed yourself out because you couldn't say no to that person when, you know, and the more you say yes to people's different requests, the more they're going to come to you. You know, it's like they always say, don't they, if you want something doing, ask a busy person. It's like, who's the busiest person around here? Oh, Anna's really busy. busy. She can just add that to her list, you know.
It's like,
And actually, yeah, you do sometimes get to a point where you're so overwhelmed. I just saw a comment from Lou, actually, who's watching, and saying that you know, sometimes we make ourselves really busy to distract us from how we're feeling, from our situation, from things that might actually really be bothering us a bit. You know, keeping busy can keep the mind sort of away from it all. But there's only so long you can do that, really, before you reach overwhelm and before you reach, you know, complete burnout. And yeah, unfortunately, I think that's where I got to probably a year, 18 months ago. I was just completely at burnout kind of point in my life. So as well as Emily, obviously having complex needs, you know, I have a 6-year-old son, Josh, and I sort of bounce between feeling tremendous guilt that he's not getting, you know, enough from me, because so much of my effort and attention is on Emily. Just worrying that he's not able to get out and do the things necessarily that other 6-year-olds are doing, and you know, people are whizzing off here and there to Legoland and this, that, and the other, and you know, it's just not always that straightforward for us to do those things. But also, the last 4 years, my husband's had quite a lot of quite serious health issues himself, and he had osteoarthritis in one of his hips. He had a hip replacement, and he's had kind of a number of complications since then. And I think actually he had a number of issues like pre-hip replacement. But obviously he's quite young to have gone through all of that. He's still not quite really, you know, as he wants to be. He still has big pain flare-ups. He has pain daily in, you know, different kind of amounts, I suppose. And yeah, that's been going on for quite a while, but I don't know. I think since sort of embarking on the whole kind of trying to heal myself journey and spiritual journey and everything else, I just managed to deal with everything so much better. You know, I hit a real sort of rock bottom about 18 months ago, and yeah, it was like everything just like, it felt like the whole of life had gone completely wrong, like so very, very badly wrong. I thought every part of life has fallen down here. None of us were coping. Michael wasn't coping with what was happening to him. I was just I was very overwhelmed and stressed out, but actually I was just really snappy at everybody, you know, big outbursts of either crying or anger or and you know, there was this one awful day when we just had a really, really bad night. You know, Michael had been up in the night he was getting very sort of emotionally upset with his situation. And yeah, I was just struggling with the kids that morning, got them off to school, and I had to whiz off to like Wix to get some stuff because I was doing all the DIY. Crap at DIY, by the way.
Just have that in the mix thing as well.
Yeah. And then on the way home, I just got into this like ridiculous argument with this man. He was in his car and I was in mine. And I just ended up like road raging him. And I was just like, oh my God. You know, when you just sort of stop and go, Anna, what are you doing? What are you doing? This is completely insane now. I hated who I was, to be quite blunt with you. I completely hated it. And so I thought, right, get home, calm yourself down kind of thing. Lou, just reading Lou's comment. It was actually Louise that I went to a few days later. I'd always been like really interested in things like crystals. Actually, I didn't have any, but I've always been really drawn to them. And I thought, I think Lou might have some crystals. I'm sure she's mentioned it before. She wouldn't have talked a lot about it, but you know, I would have like picked up the odd little thing here and there. And so, yeah, I went round to Lou's house, and she made me tea, and we just talked for about 2 hours about things. And she was so amazing, and she showed me all of her crystals, and she showed me some oracle cards, and I was like, oh, they're lovely. And yeah, that was kind of the start of all of that, I suppose. So I've just gone off on a complete tangent there from where I was talking about how, you know, how life does happen to people, and you know, we shouldn't expect ourselves just to cope with everything on our shoulders on our own forever. Does that make sense? Do you know what
that really hit a nerve with me then.
Oh no, sorry.
No, not in a bad way, but yeah, I completely resonate with it, like 100%. I think regardless of what people have got going on, like, there's always that, like, it feels like the walls are closing in, and you get to a point where you don't know what the next day is going to bring, but you start to dread it, and then you kind of almost like back yourself into a hole, and then it's just like the whole thing of like energy breeds energy, and when you are in that horrible crappy space, it's just regurgitating itself, and then it's just a cycle of crap. And
Yeah.
that just becomes your normal, and then you think, well, this is my life now. But then you find things like, with the whole like leaning into spirituality and finding yourself, I think, I don't know if people have this like misconception that it's like, oh, I'm evolved and awakened now. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's almost like like you said, the crystals, and then oracle, and it's just bit by bit, and it's like no one's journey is ever the same. But I think we get invited into it with the right stuff, the right time, and the people that are there that are meant to be on that journey. Because, like you say with Louise, like, you'd met however else, and then that brought you into it together.
That's absolutely it, isn't it? You know, this whole sort of thing that there is, you know, a plan for you. I used to kind of think, well, everything happens for a reason, and I don't know if that's always the case, actually. But yeah, that, you know, I met Lou sort of a few years before any of this even happened, but she was obviously, you know, brought into my life for a reason. And in fact, before we even did Mums on a Mission together, Louise and I took and my daughter Emily and her daughter Sabrina to hydro swimming at the school the girls now go to, but this was when they were preschoolers. So it goes right all the way back to, you know, when the girls were like 2-3 years old that we first met each other. So that's so highly kind of significant, isn't it, really, that kind of meeting and friendship then developed from that. We were on similar sort of journeys, you know. It was all very unknown, very scary, but yeah, and then for this many years later to have been through so much. And like I say, when I hit that kind of rock bottom, I just thought, right, in my head I thought, well, you need to do something now. I don't know what, but you need to really change your life at this point. You cannot carry on like you are. It's not a life. You're being a really horrible person. You know, you're not picking fights exactly, but you're being too grumpy with your friends and family. You're being very grumpy at work, horrible at work. Yeah, and I just thought you need to really somehow drag yourself out of it and make a change. And I must say, a few months into doing this, and it's still, I mean, this was like 18 months ago, this rock bottom kind of thing, maybe even getting on for 2 years ago. You know, I'm still a work in progress, but I would say so much healing has happened that eventually, when you're healing, it does ripple out.
Yeah.
It ripples out. And, you know, even though Michael isn't like where he wants to be mentally, he is so much better than he was when he was really struggling. And yeah, the kind of the healing, you're healing everyone around you as well as yourself.
Yeah, and this is it, because I think so many people hold off taking the time for themselves or doing the self-care because they feel it's like selfish. And I mean, one of the things that I often say is like being selfish isn't actually a bad thing. Like going back to when we originated, like selfishness is actually a survival instinct, because if you're not selfish,
Yeah.
like you get eaten by a lion or something, and
Yeah.
like that's it. You can't
Very
be
good point, actually, Laura.
it. Because, well, you know, like obviously we think, oh, I need to put the kids first. I have to put partner first. I have to put this first. But actually, if you don't put yourself first, you're not going to be there for any of them. So
Yeah.
so often we pile everything like on top of us, and we're at the bottom of the pile. But I think making ourselves a priority is like, yes, selfish, but selfish isn't always a bad thing. Like self-centeredness is the bad thing that I think we all think, oh, but I think
Yeah.
when we give ourselves that time in that space, it's not just for us. Like you say, it does ripple out to those around us and to everything that we do. And then we often find that those of us that take that time and that care for ourselves aren't doing it just for us anyway. There's always like a greater mission, or we're doing things sort of in a roundabout way for other people.
Yeah, yeah. Like, well, even the word selfish, it's like it's become such a sort of negative word, hasn't it? It's completely associated with terrible people if you're selfish. What was happening is I was literally at the very very bottom of the pile. Everybody else was above me, like work, people at work. And that's probably why I was ending up being quite resentful towards them. I mean, to be fair, my own family have just been absolutely amazing. It's not them putting on me. My mum has been like an incredible support, and I'm just so lucky to have her, actually. And she's got this, amazing bond with Emily, and if anyone's going to give me a break, it's my mum. She's the one who always offers. And actually, just going back to something you said earlier, when you said, oh, if I don't have anything to do, I feel a bit uneasy. When the children go off to the grandparents for the day or for an overnight stay, I'm kind of going, oh God, house feels really quiet. I should be looking after people. I should be tidying up after everyone, or making food and feeding people. But yeah, I've got a lot better in the past sort of probably 6 to 12 months at just embracing that peace, that quiet. I used to feel quite stressed and anxious, actually, if the kids weren't here, if they were being looked after by my mum. And she's brilliant with them. They're in amazing, safe hands with mum. But I've really learned to try to just to embrace the peace. And yeah, I'm quite bad. I will use the time to catch up on all the jobs that need doing. But definitely I'm getting to a point now where I'm tipping over the edge almost of, right, so you're okay with having some free time. Now it's time to use that free time for a bit more for yourself. Go for a lovely walk through, the woods, or go for a walk around Avebury, or another day at Glastonbury. I'm desperate to go back to Glastonbury. I would absolutely love that. I always say I'm a work in progress. I'm definitely not there yet.
I think we all are, though. Like I think there's never any kind of pinnacle point. We're always constantly moving and evolving and growing. But then, like talking of Glastonbury, obviously that's the first place we met in person when you came to the retreat. And then from meeting you then in like March last year to then when I saw you again in November at the Dorset retreat, like even that, I don't know what's 6 months.
It's about they were about 6 months apart. Yeah.
Even then, like I could see the difference in you and like your
It's
energy.
really.
Yeah, you just seemed like your energy really lifted, and just like you just seemed more like full of life. And
Oh God! Oh wow! Oh, that's nice.
over the course of the weekend, obviously through all the different activities that we did, seeing you really just let loose and come out of your shell, especially when we did the ecstatic dance. Oh, that was just so much fun.
Yes. I
I think
actually loved that. Yeah, absolutely loved. Yeah, it was just doing things I don't normally do. I mean, I used to be quite arty at school. I loved art, and I just haven't literally done any art since leaving school at 16. And just to be able, the oil paintings that we did with the crystals, yeah, just loved it. I thoroughly enjoyed every minute of it, and to be honest, I feel even more kind of coming back to myself now. So that was sort of, there was Glastonbury, and then 6 months on there was Dorset, and then that was sort of 5 or 6 months ago. It's all continuing, if that makes sense. I'm not going. You always have like little setbacks, don't you? But there's been no sort of big pullback to where I was at all. It just seems to be like onwards and upwards now, actually. And I'm sure like a huge part of that, well, all of it really, is down to all the changes I've made. And I think, yeah, for me going forward, to make some proper space now, excuse me, in the week for the Sacred Sisterhood, that is going to be, that's me taking it to the next level now, if that makes sense. I'll be going to I go to yoga once a week, and she's brilliant. She's very spiritual. She's all the chakras, and she gives us a card each week, and sometimes we get a little crystal, and so she's amazing. I love my yoga teacher. Yeah, but I'm sort of moving a bit more deeply into it, and I'm ready to move a bit more deeply into it. I don't think you can just do it all in one go.
No,
almost.
it is a process, isn't it? I mean, when
yeah.
I got into it was very much. I think unless you're directly like in the know with someone that is deep into it, it is like you have to scratch the surface and then gradually burrow and burrow and burrow. But like, so when I started out, it was I got my first pack of tarot cards when I was like 19, and then I used to kind of do it as a party trick to pull cards for people. And then that evolved into the whole psychic medium thing, which I thought was great. And I mean, like, it is great. But then you learn that there's more. It's not just all the glamour and woo and smoke and mirrors type fortune telling thing. And I think when we talk about spirituality, there is a lot of stereotypes because people think, oh, yeah, it's a load of shit and all of this stuff. But actually, the crux of it is just coming back to ourselves and remembering who we are, letting go of all the stuff that's caged us. And if that makes us feel better about ourselves, then like, who's anyone to judge that?
Yeah, completely. I think the other thing as well, which I haven't really touched on, but has been massive for me, is journaling. So it's, I think I started that quite early on in the whole sort of process, and straight away realised how, and I've heard of journaling before. I know people keep diaries, and if you've got like a lot of feelings, write it all down. But I just never really thought to actually do it myself. And yeah, since I've been doing some journaling, and sometimes I might not do it for a few weeks, but when I find it especially useful when I still have little kind of weird spirals of thoughts, if that makes sense, where something might be approaching or something might happen, and I end up a bit of a deep thinker, and I end up just thinking and thinking and thinking, and I can get myself tied up in like a little bit of a knot almost with it. And I find if I have a good journaling session, that really helps, because I get it all down on paper, and I feel like I literally feel a physical release from that kind of tight across the chest where something is a bit annoying you. I don't know if it makes any sense really, but I'm just trying to think of some examples. Like, for example, so when Children in Need comes round, I'm always quite kind of pulled in different directions by it. So, I've obviously worked for BBC. I've been involved in Children in Need, like locally. We do our own thing every year, and I've done that for many years, and I've absolutely loved it. And I do think it's genuinely a very good cause with, it's got very good intentions, and my own daughter has benefited from the money that's been raised. But I also know a lot of Sen parents absolutely hate it. And actually, I do get it. I get why they don't like it. You know, it kind of makes disabled children seem like we have to really pity them. I don't think it's as bad as it used to be, but it's definitely been a bit of a, they call it like a pity parade almost. It's like let's show all these, you know, these poor children with all these conditions and how terrible life is, and we've all got to donate and give to it. And a lot of Sen parents really, really don't like it and don't want anything to do with it. And I do understand where they're coming from. And I think because when you've got that ability to see all the different points of view, and you can't always bring a resolution in your own mind. So I'll journal about it, and suddenly I literally physically feel the weight lift off my shoulders when I'm kind of a bit spiraling about, oh, should I be supporting this or not? And in the end, I just let it go and go, right, well, it's over for another year. So that's it. Don't think about it again, Anna, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I absolutely love journaling. And like when I used to teach like more the aspect of like spiritual development and things like that, journaling was one of the first things that I would recommend like people do, because I think a lot of people approach it thinking, oh, it's like dear diary. Tell like I'm crushing on blah blah blah, and it's not. I mean, I absolutely like. I'm a big advocate for journaling, and I've like really got back into it, especially like since the beginning of this year. I've been doing it daily, and I find for me, so I've got a deck of cards that I've been pulling from. In fact, they're right, because I have a card for each day. So this is the deck I'm working with. So it's the Magdalene manifestation cards, which are like, I've had them for a while, and I was like, oh, I didn't feel ready for them yet. And I've been working with them, but I like to kind of pull a card for the day, but I'll sit with it and I'll think like, what's the focus that my energy needs to be on today, or where am I at? So I'll journal and I'll just let it spill out, even if I don't feel like I know what I'm writing. Because when you get into the knack of it, you're almost like, it's free writing, isn't it? And it will just flow. And then I'll read it back because I'm kind of almost out of body, like writing all this stuff. And then you go back and you think, oh shit, like, wow. And I like to finish mine up, like when I do my morning journaling, I like to finish it off like writing like some kind of affirmation based on that, and then that's what I carry through in the day. And I found, I mean, the past week doing that is just like when you do it, you just feel even better. And I've kind of made the promise to myself that before I do any work on a morning, I have to do that first.
Wow, I love that. That's like journaling goals, that is, Laura, literally. Mine's more, oh, I'm feeling quite like tied up about something, or unhappy about something even. I did a particularly bad one a few months ago, excuse me, where I was just completely raging about, I think there've been a few things have gone wrong again at home, and I was just like, right, if we're not careful, we're going to end up going backwards. And I just wrote this absolutely awful entry. And what I ended up doing, a few days later, I ripped it out and then I burned it because, I know.
That's really like,
I just felt the need to do it. I was like, actually, I don't want this in here with all the rest of my journaling. Because mine's quite sort of very different. Some of mine is very like after a meditation, I'll do some journaling, and that's a very different sort of journaling to the one where I'm getting everything off my chest, you know. But I decided to burn that page, and honestly, it's so therapeutic. You literally are releasing it to the universe. I know that's what they say when you're like manifesting or letting things go, when it's a full moon or a new moon or whatever. But you can actually do that anytime. I think actually one of the most sort of very profound experiences I've ever had actually was when we did the fire pit ceremony in Dorset. Oh my God, That
was
was
powerful. That was more
so,
than
I absolutely loved every minute of that. I would do that again in a heartbeat. I just loved it. And I know you got us to write a list of things we wanted to release. And I can't remember what I wrote on it now, but I took a picture of it before I chucked it in. So what I'm going to do, actually, I'm going to go and I'm going to find the picture and have a look and see if the things that were on there are things I have actually like released or partially released. But it was a huge list, mine was. It was awful. I was just like, God.
it did. It
But
felt
yeah,
because we
love doing that.
chucked those in the fire first and got rid of that and created the space. And then, like with a mixture of herbs and flowers, we threw that in with our intention, and like it was just, it was gorgeous.
It was so magical, wasn't it? Yeah, I loved it. Yes.
I'm just going to touch upon one of the comments. So Joanne's comment that she's put there, is it okay to pull a card for yourself every day? Absolutely. So it depends the perspective that you're coming at it from. I mean, if you're looking at it from the perspective of a prediction reading, then I'd be like, I mean, it's not that it's not okay, but that's probably not what you need for yourself. If it's like where I'd mentioned about what's the focus, the energy to carry through today, or what do I need to hear, then that's okay. It's not about prediction because you're not attached to the outcome. It's more about receiving the guidance. So by all means, yeah, pull a card for yourself every day and see how it feels. Quite often, like you might feel like a resistance. I don't know if you feel it, Anna. If you ever pull a card for yourself and you're like, oh no, we'll put that one back.
Yeah.
You kind of think, but I've learned, because I did it with them ones. I think it was Monday I pulled a card and I was like, okay, I did that. And then yesterday that same card came out and I was like, and I thought, no, I'm not going to put it back. But then what I am going to do is I'm going to pull another card to go with it and see what that kind of accompanies with it and go from there. But I think it is definitely, it's a learning journey, because it is hard. If you pull something out and either you don't like it or you think, oh, meh, you don't resonate. But actually, it's not always what you want to hear or see or read. It's what you need. And sometimes that's a hard pill to swallow, but it's, I think, hindsight. And when you get further along and you look back and you think, so yeah, so it's absolutely okay to pull a card for yourself every day. I think it's just more important that the intention. There you go. I know Lou's had to shoot off, but I pull that comment up your way. Oh, that's so funny.
It's all right, witches are good.
We're embracing the witch. Yeah, I've had so much fun. I mean, I could just be here for hours just chilling and chatting, but this is brilliant. I mean, I'm so grateful to have you here and to have you as my first ever video guest. I'm just
thank you.
I can't believe we've been on for like an hour. Like it just
that is flown by, hasn't it? That's gone by so quickly. Yeah,
it has. But just so before we head off, obviously, if anyone does want to follow Mums on a Mission, they can follow at Mawam Swindon and follow along with all the amazing work that you're doing, and see what's going on with you in the gang. But
thank you. Yeah, that's kind of where it all started. Things just start, don't they? And then they massive, everything just expands, and life's always evolving, isn't it? I think that's just where I'm at the moment. And but yeah, if anyone wants to follow our page, that would be amazing. Thank you.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you so much, Anna. Like, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. And like I said, I could just chat to you forever, but we'll
Same.
Yeah,
we probably ought to go to bed at some point and need to get up early in the morning. So, thank you so much for having me on. Thank you for asking me.
It's been an absolute pleasure. I think we timed that well. I've got a leave voice. Yes, you can go get a drink. Amazing. And everyone for tuning in, watching, listening, commenting, thank you so much for following along with us. The replay will be available to watch on Facebook, on YouTube, wherever you watched it. And yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure. I cannot wait till the next one. But for now, Anna, I've just loved every moment of this.
Thank you. I've loved it too. Thank you so much for asking me, Laura.
It is a pleasure. Thank you so much. Right. Well, I shall love you all next time.